I'm 9 months into this now, and this is the part no one really talks about. Because over those 9 months, yes, it's absolutely worked. The weight's come down, my food noise is under control, but that's not the part where people struggle. What 9 months has shown me is this is the point where things start to change. And if you're not sharp or you don't recognise it, this is where people can start going backwards. So I'm Manda's Midlife, and I've been taking Mounjaro now for 9 months. This channel is all about following the highs, the lows, and all the lumpy bits in between. Now, I inject 7.5 milligrams every single week into my belly, and I've got to say, it has worked. My weight is down, my food noise has been completely reduced, and I feel like I'm in better control than I've ever been. This isn't a it doesn't work video, because clearly it does work. One of the biggest changes I didn't expect on this journey after 9 months is how normal everything starts to feel. At the start, everything feels brand new, it's fresh, it's exciting. You notice your weight's dropping off at a really good rate, the food noise has dropped off, your appetite suppressant is just really strong, and you're thinking about this weight loss journey constantly. What happens after 9 months is it just becomes your new normal. You don't check things the same way, you're not as switched on with it all, because what happens is it doesn't feel like progress anymore. And that sounds like a good thing, doesn't it? But it's also where it gets tricky, because when it starts feeling normal, that's when you stop paying attention so much. You don't suddenly fall off track, you just stop being as sharp as you were at the start, you stop being as on the ball as you were at the start. And that really is a tricky stage. And that tricky stage that you end up in, it means you have less focus, the smaller things make a bigger difference. And I honestly believe it's when you hit the stores, you hit the plateaus. And I don't feel like these stores and plateaus happen so often earlier in your journey. They seem to be happening, from what I can gather, later in your journey, when you do become less focused, when you have lost a bit of weight or a lot of weight even. So you've got less to focus on, you haven't got that concentration, you're not constantly thinking about the Mounjaro or the weight loss medication or your journey. You're not 100% committed to it, because you look in the mirror, you see a different version of yourself, and you think, well, I'm getting there. And that's the dangerous moment, that's the time when it becomes a bit of an issue going forward. And it's at this point where something else starts to happen, and that's when you start negotiating with yourself. And it's not at all obvious at first, but it's definitely happening and it's definitely there. You tell yourself, I've done well, I can ease off a bit, and it's the smaller things that matter then. A slightly bigger portion, a little bit less attention to what you're eating, skipping something you wouldn't have skipped at the start. Nothing major, nothing you'd really even notice, but over time it adds up. Now, I've had a few comments recently saying people think that maybe I am easing off, and I can see why they'd think that, because to me it doesn't feel like I'm going backwards, it just feels like I'm being a little bit more relaxed. And I guess that's how it all starts, isn't it? And it's at that point when things really, really change, because hunger isn't a problem, and it hasn't been a problem for a long time on this journey. At the start, that's your biggest battle, without a doubt. You're thinking about food all the time, you're trying to control it, and you're constantly aware of it and aware of what you're eating. You fast forward 9 months, that side is completely under control. My appetite is still managed, the food noise is incredibly low still. So you're probably sat there thinking, well, surely that makes it easier, doesn't it? It doesn't, it really doesn't, because at this stage, the stage I'm at now, 9 months in, it's not hunger that catches you out, it's mindset and it's behaviour. It's all about the habits, the choices you make, the little decisions that you make without even thinking, because you're not fighting hunger anymore, you're just left with you and what's going on inside your head. And if your mindset and your habits aren't right, this is the part where it starts to feel different again. Because when your progress slows down, at the start it's obvious, the scale's moving, everything's amazing. You can see the changes, your clothes are fitting better, and you feel like something's happening. 9 months in, it's not like that. The scale moves very, very rarely, or it does for me anyway. It moves less, the changes are smaller, the differences are certainly not as noticeable as they were in the first few months, and you're not noticing these things happening day to day. So even though you feel like you're doing all the work, it just doesn't feel like it's working in the same way. And that leads to your motivation dipping, or certainly in my case, it's led to my motivation dipping. And when your motivation dips, the habits change, the temptations creep in, and the bits and bobs that you're supposed to do, they don't happen so often. And it's not because you've stopped, but because the feedback you were getting at the start just isn't there. And when I say feedback, I mean what's happening on the scales, what's happening in your head, and what you see with your eyes. And it's a really strange and weird place to be, because you feel like you're still putting the effort in, but it doesn't feel like you're getting the return that you were when you first started the journey. And that's the part that really, really matters. No one suddenly fails. They just slowly stop doing what was working. There's no big moment, there's no clear turning point, there's no huge change of direction. It's just tiny little small changes, a little bit less focus, a little bit more relaxed, a few things slipping up here and there. And over time, that adds up. And that's how it happens, not all at once, just slowly and gradually. And at that point, it really does become less about the medication and more about you, or more about me. The tool I'm using, the Mounjaro, is still exactly the same. It's still doing what it was meant to do. It was what it was designed to do. But what's required from me is now different. And I'm not able to rely on it in the same way anymore. I'm having to pay more attention to what I do, what I eat. I'm having to be more consistent, which is where I've always struggled, or certainly in the last few months is where I've struggled. And I need to be more honest with myself and take a little bit more accountability, because the medication doesn't change. What's required from me is what's changed. And that's the shift. It's not whether it's working, it's about how I'm using it now. And just to be honest, frank and open with everyone, 100% this medication has worked. I've lost a significant amount of weight, 72 pounds. I feel better, I feel healthier, I feel more mobile, I feel more agile. And overall, it's done exactly what I needed it to do. So this is not a negative take on it one little bit. I would 100% recommend, if you've done all the medical checks that you need to do, I would 100% recommend taking these weight loss medication. But what that 9 months has really shown me is that the closer you get to go, the more it changes. And I'm not talking about physically, I'm talking about mentally. Because at the start, everything feels clearer. You're making progress, you're moving forward, you're losing weight. But without doubt, as you get closer, it gets quieter, it gets less obvious, it definitely gets less rewarding, and it gets so much easier to drift off that path without even realising. So you just got to remember, it's not that things are going wrong, it's just a different phase and it needs more attention. And for me, the next phase is trying to figure out how to handle that properly without slipping back into my old habits, because that's going to be the part that really actually matters to me. So that when I give you a 10-month update, there's been changes, there's been weight loss, things have happened that are supposed to happen when you're taking Mounjaro. Right, just need to quickly mention my supplier, and they're called Bolt, or Fella in the US. Now, at this stage of the journey, it's not just about taking the medication, it's about doing it properly, staying consistent and having that structure around you. And for me, that's where Bolt have been absolutely fantastic. I check in with them every month, they take my weight, we talk about dosage, whether we should go up, whether we should stay the same. They've been absolutely amazing. So it's not just about the medication itself, it's how you're supported while you're using the medication. If you're thinking about starting a weight loss journey, then check out my link with Bolt, where you would get a £40 discount, and I will leave that down below in the description. Just quickly before I leave you in peace and quiet, I just want to say thanks ever so much for all the support of the channel. It really does mean the world to me. If you could like this video, that would be amazing. If you could subscribe to the channel, that would also be amazing. There are plenty more ups and downs to come in this journey. There's going to be a time when I reach go, there's going to be a time when I reach maintenance, and I think the fun's going to really start then. So you want to get subscribed to the channel so you can follow the rest of my journey, and I'm sure you won't regret it. I will be back on Saturday with my weekly update and Q&A video. If you've got a question for the Q&A video, please pop it down below and mark it Q&A. I haven't got many questions for this Saturday's video, so I would really appreciate that. I will leave a few of my videos on the screen right now. If you want to watch a middle-aged chubby man waffling on about weight loss, There's plenty to choose from. I will see you all on Saturday, but as always, thanks very much for watching, and I appreciate all your support.